This episode is brought to you by HASA. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about something that we run into here in my area of Los Angeles County, California, and that is scheduling conflicts or interference with landscapers or gardeners. This means that the homeowner may want you to come after the landscaper or a day after or later in the afternoon, and you probably don't want to schedule pools too often the same day the landscaper gets there before the landscaper arrives to clean up the yard. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. So it's a common problem when you have pools with landscaping around it to have this conflict with scheduling the pool service around the landscaper. A lot of times customers want their pool cleaned Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and the same goes for the yards. A lot of people don't like the landscaper coming on Monday or Tuesday because by the time it gets to the weekend, the grass is already pretty, grown in some areas. Some cases, the landscaping is pretty much, all the leaves have fallen again in the backyard. And so this leads to somewhat of a conflict with pool service scheduling with landscapers. And this is something that you get a lot of pushback from. You may not even get the account, or they may cancel service to go with someone else if you can't accommodate them in a situation like this, which I've had happen to myself, where I couldn't accommodate the service account based on the landscaper, and they unfortunately went with another pool service, which does happen, and it's something that's unavoidable. Now, there are certain things that you can put in place to where it doesn't really matter which day the landscaper comes, because the pool should look good regardless of how much work to do around it. In a lot of areas like here, the grass goes right up to the pool. You have a 3-foot deck, and then you have the lawn, and you have bushes sometimes right on the side of the pool that need to be trimmed constantly. You have dirt that gets blown in there from the landscapers that walk around the decking. So there's going to be a mess in the pool. Granted, there's no easy way around it. If you have a pool where they have a lot of dogs, like golden retrievers or Labradors, a lot of times when the landscaper gets there, they're blowing everything into the pool, or around the pool area, I should say. Probably not on purpose, but it's hard to avoid that. A lot of the dog hair gets in the pool as well. A big complaint I used to get from customers with dogs is that, I have to schedule my day so that it's at least a day after the landscaper, because it takes that much time for the dog hair to kind of settle and get skimmed out, and they don't really want me there the same day the landscaper's there because of all the dog hair, or for sure not after or not before the landscaper gets there. So that's a consideration. Now, there's some yards where it doesn't really matter because you have plenty of decking, and the only thing that's going to happen is maybe a little dust gets in the pool. What I tell customers is that automatic cleaners are really a must, because not only do they, of course, protect you against these kind of conflicts between the landscaper and my service, but they'll also clean the pool all week long. So it doesn't really matter in some cases when the landscaper gets there, because the pool cleaner is going to get all the debris out of there, and then the natural skimming will get the rest of it out. But again, there are situations where you have, a 3-foot deck, or maybe not even a deck itself. You just have the pool coping, and you have like St. Augustine grass. A big problem, because those are the ones that you need to schedule I usually try to schedule those particular pools the same day as a landscaper, or I get there the day after. The reason why I like scheduling it the same day is that the landscaper gets there and they're usually pretty consistent. And that's one good thing about at least the gardeners in my area. They're kind of like us where they have a certain route and they kind of hit those lawns at the same time every week. It's good to have that routine, and they're not much different than pool service where we like to do our route in the same order. Same thing with them. And so what's a good thing about that is that if you do have a pool that does get a lot of heavy debris when the landscapers are there. And I've also left a pool net and a pretty good pole, not the cheap aluminum pole, but a decent pole at the homeowner's house. And a lot of the landscapers will actually skim the pool if they do any trimming around it with the bushes, get the leaves out of there for me. So that's something that you can also discuss with them. It's good to run into them and meet them. And there may be a language barrier, of course, but you want to make sure that you communicate to them. Like if they're doing something, like the last thing you want to do is kind of agitate the gardener or landscaping company by leaving notes around, like, the pool's on a trash can. Those are not accepted very well, and you just want to discuss with the homeowner. So I always say this when you're dealing with a landscaper or gardener that needs to be corrected. You never want to confront them directly because you're not paying them. You're really nobody, and they can make your life miserable if you get on the wrong side of them. What I like to do is, when I run into landscapers, is get their card and say, hey, if I can have your card, if I see anybody that needs service, I'll definitely leave that with them. Right away, they're going to be your friends because you're referring them. And if we do have a referral that comes through for them, they're going to be even more happy to help you out and be that much more nicer to you. But I always have the homeowner be the person that intervenes. And I always use this reasoning with the homeowner. If the gardeners are just leaving the pool a total disaster every week, which does happen unless they're corrected, because they're just there to mow and blow in a lot of times and not really paying attention to the pool. It's not on their radar. But you can tell the customer these two things, and these are a really effective way to get the customer to be proactive with the landscapers. I tell them, number one, all the grass clippings getting into the pool, they're using up the chlorine pretty rapidly, and I'm going to have to charge extra for the shocking of the pool every week because the grass is really causing a problem in the pool. And then, of course, they don't want to pay any extra for pool service, so they're going to get on the landscaper pretty quickly to not have all the grass clippings going to the pool. And there is a low setting on the blower, by the way. And here in California, those gas blowers are actually banned now. They have to be electric. So it's interesting. The power of electric blowers are not nearly as strong as the gas blowers. But the gas blowers are still around because you can still keep repairing them. You just can't purchase them. And some cities also have ordinances where you can't use leaf blowers at certain times of the day. They are noisy and they are, I guess, counterintuitive. I mean, they just blow stuff everywhere. I always thought it'd be great to make a leaf sucker instead of a leaf blower. That sounds more logical, but no one's come up with that. It just makes more sense to me. You're just blowing the leaves onto the neighbors' yards. I was at a pool one time where there's this chain link fence and there's a bush in between, and every week the gardeners would blow everything through that fence onto the neighbor's property. It was kind of funny, but it's one of those things where that's a problem and they can blow everything into the pool. So focus on the fact that you're going to charge the customer more for chlorine because you have to shock the pool more because of the grass clippings, and I can almost guarantee you they're going to be on the landscaper not to do that anymore. And then the secondary thing you can do, especially if the skimmer basket's clogged up all the time, is to let the customer know that, the grass clippings are clogging up the skimmer basket, causing the pump to lose its prime. Sometimes the grass clippings can even go into the pump. But again, I would recommend having a filter saver or filter sock on that skimmer basket, especially if you have St. Augustine grass or any small grass clippings. It'll trap it in the skimmer basket. But let the customer know that every week the skimmer basket is impacted with grass debris or leaf debris, and this causes the pump not to operate properly. And it could lose its prime, which could cause the pump motor to burn out, and that's going to cost, $500 or $600 to replace. Again, anything monetary will get the customer's attention, and if the equipment's not running correctly because of that, you can also add the fact that since the pump is getting clogged up or not priming because the skimmer basket is impacted with debris, that affects the flow of the pool, which causes algae, which means I don't have to charge you for algicide as well as shock. Now, this will really get the customer's attention because now not only will the equipment potentially burn out, they have to pay for a higher charge for chlorine as well as algicide. And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. I find this to be much more effective than just complaining about the landscaper or gardener saying, hey, they're just making a mess of the pool. Can you correct that? That doesn't really do much for the customer because they don't care they're making a mess of the pool in some cases because you're cleaning the pool, so why would they care how messy the pool gets? They hire you to clean the pool, and yeah, the pool's getting messed up by the gardeners, and that's why they hired you to clean the pool, I guess. But that's not going to be effective, so the pocketbook is the best way to get their attention. Now let's talk about scheduling around the landscapers. Sometimes you can have the customer talk to the landscaper and see if they can get to their property at a certain time, let's say on a Thursday before 9 a.m. That would be ideal for you if you're there at 11 to do the pool, because not every house has a pool that the landscapers are working on. So that gives them a little more flexibility than you, because of course, every house that you're working at has a pool, and we have zero flexibility with that, of course. So they have more ways to flex than we do. And if they can move the account to a different day or come earlier because of the pool, and you come later to do the pool, that's more ideal. So talk to the customer in detail about, the scheduling issue. They're going to bring it up to you first and foremost, and you're going to notice it right away because, you're going to be there. The landscaper's going to come after you. And you'll notice that the pool is suffering a little bit from that fact later when you get back to that stop. So it's one of those things when you get back to the stop the following week. So it's one of those things where the customer will bring that to your attention, and then you kind of negotiate with the customer. It's hard for you to move a service day. In my opinion, it's difficult to move your service day. It's easier for the landscaper to move their service day or their service time to be more accommodating. Sometimes you'll arrive at the pool, the landscaper's there at the same time. That's a perfect time to take a break and, make sure that you're not interfering with their work. They get irritated when you're doing the pool and they're trying to blow around it. Believe me, they don't like it. Just as if you were doing the pool and they just showed up and started cleaning the yard right when you're in the middle of doing the pool. So schedule that to where it's not conflicting. And it's something that just you have to work on. And sometimes, again, like I said in the beginning, there's no way to resolve the conflict, and the customer may pick a different company. Now, if you really like that pool, then you have to bend the knee and kind of move that account. But sometimes you can't do that. And in the case when that's not possible, losing the pool is something that can happen because, they're actually, in a lot of cases, at least in my area, they're paying a lot more for landscaping than pool service. So the landscaper has priority. Sometimes the landscaper has been with them for several years, and maybe you're a newer company with the customer. They may have had the pool built after the fact, and the landscaper's been doing the yard for 10 years. And so you don't have as much clout or brownie points with the customer as the landscaper has. And again, in most cases, they're paying them a lot more than they're paying you because the yard is bigger and they're maintaining the whole entire yard front and back. Sometimes that's not the case, but a lot of times it is the case. I found that to be true, that the landscaper takes priority over pool service. But there's also opportunities for you to sell automatic cleaners to customers because you, of course, are going to emphasize the fact that the cleaner is going to be working in the pool all week long. So if the landscaper shows up, of course, before you, even then, leaves are going to fall in the pool, the wind's going to blow. There may be some stray clippings that will blow into the pool afterwards. But with an automatic cleaner, either a suction side cleaner or a pressure side cleaner, it's going to be working in the pool to make sure that debris is picked up. So it's a good selling point for cleaners. I think if there's any properties that you have that you maintain where the grass is really close to the pool, if there's a 3-foot barrier between the pool and the grass, or if there's no barrier at all, automatically a cleaner is something you want to sell to the customer and explain to them that this just helps keep the pool swim ready all week long. And since you have a lot of landscaping around the pool, you recommend this, especially if there's dirt around the pool and the dirt blows in there. I always try to tell the customers that dirt has a lot of metal ions in it. You don't know how much metal is in the dirt. And if that is in the pool all week long with nothing picking it up, that's going to be a problem, and it could potentially cause staining. When certain leaf debris falls in the pool, it does use up the chlorine. So the automatic cleaner is going to save the customer because I don't have to charge extra for chlorine. I don't have to leave shock there and do a surcharge because the leaf debris and grass is being picked up by the cleaner. It's not causing the chemicals to be used up. So again, the best strategy with the customer is to kind of explain the impact on their pocketbook when the landscaper is not careful, makes a mess of the pool, and then also try to keep as friendly relations as possible with the landscapers by referring business to them, being nice when you see them, and try to avoid the conflict of schedule with the landscapers. It may take a few weeks for all this to be implemented. It doesn't happen overnight, and sometimes the employees don't get the message and they're still pretty messy. Just keep reminding the customer that, you notice that the landscaper is improving somewhat, but you're still leaving a pretty big mess with the pool, and you still have that chlorine surcharge until that's fixed and corrected. And you just want to keep a balance too, because you don't want the customer canceling on you and hiring someone else either. So it's one of those things where you're kind of walking, I wouldn't say a tightrope, but you want to keep all those in balance. Friendly relationship with the landscaper. You want to make sure the customer feels the impact of the pool being extra dirty when they get there. And then you want to kind of mitigate any kind of scheduling conflicts, which can sometimes be difficult. But again, the landscaper should have more flexibility than you have with changing the schedule. And it can all be worked out. It's not something that ultimately leads to them canceling the account. It can on rare occasions, but in most cases, you can really work out this with the customer. If anything, give them a discount on an automatic cleaner sale so that you can have a cleaner in there and it's going to save the account. But do what you need to do to kind of resolve this conflict, because it is a problem here in my area. The landscaping pool service scheduling conflict is very common. If you're looking for other podcasts, you can find those on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, click on the icon there, the podcast icon, and there'll be over 1,700 podcasts for you. Also, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel Monday through Friday, you'll get a podcast there as well. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.